yelling.
Oh, does it sound like I'm yelling?
Let's do this. All right.
There.
Remember, Rob, when I had the smallest amount of success, I kicked you off the podcast. Don't make me do it again. Oh, I should probably switch to my silky smooth microphone, huh?
Ooh, nice.
Oh, everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you sound like a game show
last
host.
week about those mouse ears you have on, and then it makes you look kind of goofy.
Tell you something cool, Rob.
I have to agree. You look kind of goofy with them on.
Yeah, well, you look goofy all the time.
You look goofy with them off. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
You should put on a mask. It's Halloween season. We don't want to have to see it. Oh, Rob, it's good to have you back on the show regularly. How was your golf? Did you feel like you improved?
I missed you guys. I did. I missed you guys. Yeah. I didn't have a hole in one this year, but a double eagle. I lipped a cup on a double eagle.
Wow. Were you playing from the junior tees?
Well, the old man's tees, yes. I think they're ahead of the juniors somewhat. They're ahead of the ladies. I know that.
Demetrius, do you ever golf at all?
Never. No, you know what? You know why I've never golfed is because I've got the type of personality where I sometimes struggle doing things a little bit. And I knew that if I ever hit a golf ball, it could get ugly for me. And I just don't have room in my life for another obsession. So I've avoided it. I've never hit a golf ball.
Mike?
Pretty much the same. I mean, mine was kind of a wedding present to my wife that I would never take up golf because every friend that I know that takes up golf, that's it. They're gone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now she wants me to take up golf. 4
Oh, damn!
Listen, you might want to consider golf.
Ha!
Nice.
Well, if you do, you can. There you go. We got a perfect foursome. Us four. Come on, let's go golfing.
Hey, wait, this guy here. You ain't seen nothing until you seen him hit a golf. I've seen him hit a pool ball, and I was not near as impressed as when I saw him hit a golf ball. It was something to watch. Effortless distance and control.
Yeah.
Well, I figured that Nate was probably a better golfer than a pool player, and I figured that because he'd almost have to.
All right, so Demetrius is no longer on the show.
Yeah.
I love that one person should not hold all of this power. It's just
Well, Nate is built. Not that small people aren't built for golf. Anybody can golf.
He's got that big long lever,
but he's got that golfer's build, a little taller, fairly muscular, and no excess weight he's carrying around.
Have you seen me recently?
Believe it or not, he's pretty coordinated.
When was the last time you saw me, Rob? My belly's about as big as, I don't know, your bald spot.
Well, that's not a spot, Nate. That's an area.
That's a landing strip. All right. We should probably talk pool at some point, right? Let's talk some pool. So Tyler Styer and Jayson Shaw. Let's take it from the European side first. I think this was the most obvious pick in the history of forever. Any thoughts on it, Mike?
No, I mean everybody kind of assumed that Jayson was going to be a pick. There were people who questioned whether he had the stats this year to do it, and are we going by merit or not going by merit, or whatever the case is. Two wildcard picks allows you to not go by merit. They allow you to go by your gut feel or by what you think is best for the team. And Jayson's a perfect team player for that format, I think. And then you can't discount, I don't care how people want to talk about it, you can't discount the fact that Team Europe needs to have someone from the UK on the team because Sky is Matchroom's biggest partner. And you find me the first year that team does not have someone from the UK on it, I will give you money. Not that he doesn't deserve to be on the team, but that's also something that you have to take into account when you consider every year who's going to be on that team. You look for the top-ranked UK player, and that's who's going to be on the team.
Well, I think you brought up a pretty interesting point there. Can you define deserve? Like what you said, it's not that he doesn't deserve to be on that team. What do you mean?
Oh,
by
he's
deservedly?
still ranked in the top 10, top 7 or so, right? With the money points list. So it's not like he's like number 26 or 27. He's been the MVP the last 2 years. He's got the if you're a captain picking that team, you don't want 5 of the exact same guys. You need that fiery guy. You need that emotional. You need that steady guy. You need that, you need different personalities on that team to make the whole team gel together and work. And I think Alex thinks that Jayson is that perfect, Mr. Fire guy. Get the team riled up, get the team pumped up, hold up his end, and he fits that role perfectly. It's not a role that you're going to stick Ralph Souquet into. So I think every team has one of those guys. The Americans used Billy Thorpe that way the last 3 or 4 years. So from that standpoint, to me, he's an easy pick and deserving. He's still one of the great players. I don't care what his record was this year, and it hasn't been that shabby.
No, okay. Rob, any thoughts on Jayson?
Yeah, I certainly like the pick. You can't not like it. That's for sure. And although he's strikingly an individual in the sport, in this instance, Mosconi Cup, it's all team, and he does both. Yeah, he takes that individual stand, and he's that team player, that spark. He has energy, a lot of it. And it comes out. It's a lot of the guys, they keep it under wraps, that energy, or they're not visual. But he likes the spotlight, and he handles it well. Great under pressure. One of the best.
Yeah, he's definitely developed into that role. Demetrius, anything?
Yeah, I think that he was built for the Mosconi Cup. If you had a list of everything that you wanted in a Mosconi Cup player, so like they have to have a very good break. They have to be very good under pressure. They can be comfortable and not be bothered by a 30-second shot clock. They have a huge high gear where they can play the highest level of pool possible, but they can also fall into that gear quickly, and they don't need to play a race to 100 to find that gear. They can intimidate opponents, and they're high energy, and they can inspire their team and inspire fear in their opponents. I'm probably forgetting a bunch, but like everything you could possibly want, and the ability to wrestle, control the table with difficult shots, or the ability to play scotch doubles and not worry too much about how your opponent plays. Like everything you could wish for, Jayson Shaw is like the embodiment. I don't know. There might be better pool players in the world, but I don't know that you could find a better Mosconi. I would actually vote Jayson might be the perfect Mosconi Cup player.
I think I probably agree with everything you just said. I would say that there are different. I would say he fills a perfect role for a Mosconi Cup player, right? I would say that Albin is also a perfect Mosconi Cup player, and Josh and Jayson are kind of filling the same role, but Josh isn't the leader that Jayson is. So Jayson can wear a few more hats. But I also think, with a player like Jayson and Josh, Albin is also the perfect player too. It's somebody who doesn't need to be, rah-rah'd up and can still get into his gear and knows, exactly what he needs to do, isn't afraid of the moment, stuff like that. And you want to?
Yeah, so here's what I think. I think you're absolutely right. Like a band, you only need one lead guitarist, right? Or maybe so it's like you only need one drummer. The fact is that you need a team, and that if you had 5 Jayson Shaws, would it be the perfect fit? I don't know. But what I will tell you is, I think the difference would be is that I think that there's one Jayson Shaw. Whereas if you wanted to replace Albin, you could replace Albin with Fedor, or Fedor with Kachi, or Kachi with Kazakis, or you could. There's a lot of guys that you could put in that are just like these European bots that are going to play near perfect sets and handle pressure well. But a guy like Jayson, he's a rarity, and so he does a very good job. You're right. It's a special role, but it's a needed role, and it's one that nobody does better.
I think Josh eventually is going to grow into that same role. Josh is, how do I say this without sounding offensive to Josh? If you happen to see this, Josh, I don't mean this to be offensively, but Josh, when you watch him at a pool tournament, he's not out there to make friends, right? He's not there to be your buddy. He's not there to hang out and shoot the shit in between matches. He's there to win, and he's there to kill you on the way to winning. he's not interested in ever being your friend, but he has all of the other traits I think that Jayson has, besides the ability to be able to be a leader for the team. I think Josh eventually will kind of grow into that role, just like Jayson kind of grew into the role. I mean, Jason's not 23 years old either. He kind of grew into that leadership role that Darren Appleton kind of had when he was a younger player. I think that Josh will eventually grow into that role. But as for right now, Josh is just, he just wants to win everything, and he's just an ultra competitor. With that being said, I agree with everything you said, except for, there's a few players I wouldn't exactly throw in there for the European bots. But I get what you're saying. I think when you throw a core of Jayson with everything that you said, his ability to lead, as well as all of the other intangibles that make him a great player, Josh with his ability to just be theatrical and demoralize you and, to be honest, just piss off the crowd and getting them all, worked up and out of being able to be useful. And then people like Albin who just sit back and just put their head down and get the work done. Those core of 3 players, I don't care who you throw in with them. That's a dangerous threesome. And then, you're throwing in people like Francisco Sanchez Ruiz and whoever the 5th pick's going to be. We're going to talk about that here in a second. I mean, Europe is dangerous, man. I mean, they are just so rock solid. And for all of the amazing players that are coming out of Europe these days, I just don't see how these 3 are ever not going to be on a Mosconi Cup. I mean, literally all 3 of them would not have to qualify, I think, for them to not be on the team. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that I hate to ask this question, but is there a U.S. player that could make the Europe Mosconi Cup team? I don't think so.
Well, Shane would technically qualify because he's made the most this year. I mean, by literal definition.
But if you had, sure. But in terms of picks, if you were building a Mosconi Cup team for Europe and you had the option of picking Shane or picking anybody from the U.S., I think that's how tough it is. Is that our top player? I don't think is going to be as effective as their lowest player. It's a pretty big hill to climb, and it's not because Shane's not technically as skilled. It's just in that format we've never, the results are the results, and at some point you got to look at them, right?
I think the heart of what your question is if no U.S. players qualified, would Alex Lely justify picking a U.S. player with a wild card? That's kind of what you're asking, right? Mike, Rob, what do you think? Mike?
I think he picked Shane in a heartbeat. Shane hasn't performed great in Mosconi Cup, but if you're talking about Shane as the 5th player, okay, if every time he played the Mosconi Cup he was playing Europe's 5th player, his record would be pretty good. His record would be a lot better than this. Okay,
that's
the
a
guy
good
who
point.
had Shaw every time, who had Appleton every time, who had Filler. So you can't go by his record entirely and determine whether he's a good player in that format. So I think that if you had him, if you said, "Here's my number 5 player, give me your number 5 player," he'd beat him every day.
You're right, Mike, because, to be fair to Shane, he's always been on a team that's losing matches and behind on the score, and he's playing the best in the world. It's kind of a trap spot for Shane to be. That being said, though, you got Jayson, Filler, Francisco, and then it's like, is Shane do you think Shane's a better pick than Federer? Because, you're kind of down to where it's like, is Federer, he would, based on being out of contention from the Russia ban, he'd have to be a coach's pick to get in, wouldn't he? Isn't that where we're at?
That's what we're wondering, whether he's going to be number 5.
So if you had a choice between that's what you're talking about for your wild card picks, or like guys like Federer, and it's like, I don't know, man. I think that Federer is a better pick than Shane, even if you had the choice.
Well, I would say this: the Fedor pick. I think that you're bringing up a real question there, and I've been saying this since the beginning. I would have picked Fedor from the beginning. Now I'm off that position now after a conversation that I had with Max and Albin at the U.S. Open. I can talk about that later. But the other players that are in contention besides Fedor are David Alcaide, Alex Kazakis, Eklund Kachi, and I would take Shane over all of those players. Rob, any thoughts?
I'm just reading the comment by little Chris here. Between the U.S. and Europe, if the U.S. had more national support, or if pool in general had more national support, would that make a difference in the quality of the U.S. players? That was a really good question. I have no answer for that question because we don't know. we'd have to get the support to find out if that would make a difference or not. But that's a real thing. You know, I think there was some country that you're from support for the players, more so than the U.S. We have state support. I think, you know, from within our states, we kind of support the players that, but as a country, not so much.
So I guess before we jump over to the USA side, let's talk about the European fifth pick. So we've already hinted at it, we kind of said the names. I would say these are the players that I think have at least a more than 1% chance of getting picked. You have David Al-Qaidi, Max Lechner, Albin Ocean. Oh, wait, scrap that. Start over. Okay, you have Max Lechner, you have Mario He, you have Fedor Gorst, you have David Al-Qaidi, and you have that's really, I mean, that's it, right? I mean, that's kind of it. Those five players. You have
Mario.
Fedor.
I think Mario was ranked higher than in the end, higher than Alex.
I said Mario, right?
Oh, did you? Okay,
You did
I
say
think,
Mario.
Yeah. So Mario, Max,
Yeah.
Fedor, Eklund, and Alex Kazakis. I think it's those five players are the only ones who have a realistic, let's say a more than 1% chance of pick. Now you can say that Alex and Eklund maybe have exactly 1%. I wouldn't push back on that. I think it really comes down to Max, Mario, and Fedor personally. But what do you guys think, Rob?
Yeah, I'm going to throw in one more in there as a dark horse, Melling. I think he showed this last tournament that he's very capable, and he's got an international record that stands out. It's you know, pretty impressive when he played against the Asians, how well he did, and when he's come over here, he's played well. So I'd throw him in the mix. Yeah, better than 1% chance maybe, but I like him for a team perspective. Also individual skills. He's a very skilled pool player for sure. Is he a Gorst, you know, or a couple of the top players? Probably not. You know, Al-Qaidi's, you got to like him because of his fellow countrymen on the, and I think that's going to favor him being picked.
Okay, Mike, what do you think?
I think it's down to two. I think it's down to Federer and David, and I'm saying David because, you know, everybody talks about. I think he would have a calming effect on Francisco. You know, we talk about how they won the doubles, and they can only play doubles together once. So his value to being on the team has to be beyond their being able to play doubles, right? So his value then would be he's got experience. And he can also, you know, calm Francisco down. That said, if I'm Alex, I'm still picking Federer because you got good enough players there in Jayson and Albin and Josh who have enough experience and are good enough. They'll be fine with Francisco. They don't need to have another Spaniard on there for Francisco to play well. The guy's playing better than David anyways. So I think that's kind of been overplayed, but I think it is in Alex's head. But I'm saying that it comes down to Federer and David, and I say I think there's a much better chance he picks Federer, especially after Federer just went this weekend and won the tournament over this past weekend. Because I think Federer did not look good at the U.S. Open, and I think for a minute there it gave Alex pause, but I think he's probably over that.
Well, if you don't mind me jumping in at this point, Demetrius, because I have a lot of things. I can't stand that narrative that like David has to be picked. Like if you're going to pick David because of David, fine, no problem at all.
Agreed.
He has shown in the past that he can handle the pressure. He performs well enough. You know, he's just a good, solid player who's not going to get too high. He's not going to get too low. He's just going to do his job. But if you're telling me that David Al-Qaidi has to be picked because Francisco Sanchez Ruiz is going to be over in the corner hyperventilating and breathing into a paper bag, spare me. Like I get that the Mosconi Cup is unlike anything that you've ever done, and it has made absolute champions look like shells of themselves. I get that. Does anybody here think that that's going to happen to Francisco Sanchez Ruiz with the way he's playing right now? I mean,
no, but I will say,
no way.
I will say this: the only other thing that leans a little bit in someone like David's favor is the experience, because when you put Federer on that team, you're essentially going in with two rookies. And two rookies in the Mosconi Cup is always a dangerous thing for any team. So that would be the only other factor that, to me, would give David any additional credence. And as far as, that's why you wouldn't pick Max at this point. That's why you wouldn't pick Mario at this point. I don't think Alex lately has said, he doesn't have a ton of confidence in Kazakis. So really then you're getting down to David for experience and Federer for play. And so I still think it's just between those two.
I agree that I think it's going to be between those two, but I think it should be between Mario and David, personally. I think that Mario has shown, sure, you want to tell me that he can't get it done in the semifinals? Fine. He's been to every single semifinals of every single major event this year. And I'm saying that a little bit in jest, but literally go back to just about every single major event that has happened this year, whether it's a Euro Tour, whether it is the UK Open, whether it is a Matchroom event, whether it is just some random event, you will see his name as one of those four pretty much 60 to 75% of the time. The dude is always there at the end. He's had a better year than all of these players, I believe, short of Francisco and Josh, maybe even Albin. But really, I think Mario, if you take his finishes, he's always there at the end. I think that he has earned a right to be there. As far as his play, I think he's playing better than David right now. Do I think that the intangibles that he brings would one up David's? I mean, if you go into with the assumption that Francisco Sanchez Ruiz is going to have to wear, a diaper because he's going to be crapping himself all over the place, hyperventilating and breaking down because he's so nervous, then yeah, sure, David's going to have a better influence. But it's not like Mario, he and Francisco Sanchez Ruiz hate each other and they're never going to be friends. I mean, all of these guys are pretty tight.
If you're going by that argument too, I mean, put Mario on the team, and as a rookie, he's got Albin to help him, right? He's got you got another countryman, babysitter if you need that. So I just don't know, I just think there's enough little concern about those where I'd still pick the best player in the world, and that would be Federer.
I think, that's what I wanted to get to. Demetrius, you want to go quick?
Go ahead and finish. I got a couple ideas, but
I think so. If you've been watching the podcast for the last 3 months, I have been on the Fedor Gorst bandwagon since the beginning. And basically what I said was it was his to lose. I don't care that he had a ban. I didn't care at all. What I said was, how can you possibly justify a David or a Max or a Mario over Fedor? Because nobody in their right mind would say that any of those guys are playing better than Fedor. So I had the assumption that it was Fedor's to lose. I believe that Fedor lost it. I think losing to Tyler. Now, Tyler played great in that match. He broke the balls well, and he was playing well. But I think that without the track record of having all year long, this was the only Matchroom event that you were able to play all year long. You weren't at the Sandcastle Open to show that. This was the only thing that you were in, and you came up short in against a U.S. player, against a player on that team. I think that it was his to lose, and he lost it. I don't see how Alex can pick Fedor and have faith in him to be able to perform under the Matchroom lights on that single table.
Let me jump in here. I've been sitting on my hands, but here's the deal. Okay, so I think it should come down to what's best for the Europe team versus what's best for Matchroom's promotional experience and the experience of the fans. So I'll tell you who I think the two players are. I think best for Europe is Federer. I don't think that, it's his to lose. He lost it. I think that's basically the guy was banned from Matchroom events, and he then proceeded to become the top money leader by winning everything he played in and basically not missing a ball for 8 months. And then he loses a race to 9, he misses a 7 ball, and now he's off the team. To me, that's pretty extreme. So I would say that if you're talking about the best team, I'm with Mike on this one. Fedor is without doubt, you put him on the team, he's going to, you've got it's unbeatable. But that's the problem. So I feel like he's if you're Alex and you're trying to pick a winning team, you pick Fedor. There's just nothing. You can talk about team dynamics and compensating factors, but give me the guy that has missed one ball since January, and I'll take my chances. But where I think it's not as good, I just don't think that's as good for Matchroom. Whereas the pick I think would be good, and I think who should also be in the running is Max Lecter. And you mentioned him, and I do think that Max Lecter would be a great pick because the guy it is a rookie. So somebody had asked about, are the rookies really a bad thing? We've seen some great performances by rookies. No, they're not a bad thing. It's just they have less of a proven track record, and we know that there's substantial pressure. And so, sometimes it doesn't work. So it adds some unknown. So if Matchroom adds Lecter to the team, or if Alex picks Lecter, you've got a guy who deserves to be there. I mean, he finaled the U.S. Open. He breaks the balls really, really well. He moves good. He runs out good. He handles pressure good. He's at the peak of his game. He's making finals runs at major tournaments. And it would be fun to watch as a rookie to see how he plays. If he plays with Sanchez after they just played this big match and they have this good, rivalry and camaraderie, it would be fun to see him on the team. I think it would be a good, entertaining match. I think it would create it so that, in short, there's doubt as to the outcome of the Mosconi Cup, which I don't know that there'd be much doubt if Federer's on the team who's going to win the Mosconi Cup. So from a fan's perspective, from a matchroom perspective, I think having Lecter, now you have some question. There's at least a road to victory. Like, can Max Lecter handle the pressure? Can he win his matches? Is he, does what's going to happen? And get a guy in there with positive energy that I don't know. I just think that's probably best for Matchroom and best for the fans. And I think it would be a great pick. So I think it's between Fedor and Lecter, and it comes down to, do you want to know who's going to win the Mosconi Cup before the coin is flipped or not?
Sure. Well, let's all go around and give our pick then. Rob, who do you think's number 5?
Number 5.
Mike, you're right.
I think it's going to be Gorst.
Mike?
Federer.
Demetrius?
I'll go Fedor. If it's truly a coach's pick, he's taking Fedor. If Matchroom has some influence, then I think Lecter. But I go with Fedor, yeah.
I think it's going to be Fedor too. I don't think it should be, but I do think it's going to be Fedor. Well, it doesn't really matter what I think because it's not my pick, right? It's Alex's pick. I think he'll pick Fedor. But I do honestly think that Mario should get it. I think that Mario should get a look. I think that Mario's had the best year of everybody remaining. But it's a wild card pick, not a qualified spot. So
yeah,
okay,
that's the thing. I mean, that's why they have wild card picks. It's you pick what you think you need for your team.
Absolutely.
And you can take into account points, you can take into account hairstyle, you can take into account whatever you want. That's what makes it your captain's pick.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on to the USA side. We got Greg Hogue over in the chat already.
Not the USA side.
Tyler makes his pick. Again, this is just as obvious to me as Jason was to Europe after beating Fedor in the US. And to be honest, I mean, it's like Tyler has been there. He's done that. He showed at least that he's above average. If you took the 2 years that he played, 3 years that he's played, he is right around 500 or a little bit above 500. I guess let's talk about the USA side. I think that USA.
We got Jeremy chiming in here.
Holy smokes! Double J in the chat. How's it going, Jeremy?
Jeez. I want to know. Just put in a response if it was me that knows so little about the game of 9-ball. I just want to know whether I'm one direction or the next.
Yeah.
By the way, I am rooting for the Stros, so if that helps at all, Jeremy.
Ooh, I am too. Go Astros. Go Astros. Man, the Astros completely have the Yankees number. What is this, like the 4 out of 5 years that they eliminated them from the MLB playoffs? Isn't that crazy? Yeah. 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, something like that. It's crazy.
Maybe we will stick to baseball. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to jump in here and say this as long as Jeremy's on there. Was Tyler your pick before the U.S. Open? Or did the U.S. Open change everything?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. All right. So I guess anybody have any surprises with Tyler, Demetrius?
I think it's really, really, really deserved. if you had to pick the player that you thought was going to play the best player, we could have conversations about other players, but Tyler is practicing, playing full time, competing against the top international players. So even if, let's just say, Justin Bergman and Tyler played a race to 109 ball right now, like even if Justin would give Tyler a hard time, which I'm not at this point, I don't even know, but even if that was the case, even if Justin wins that set, that's not the question. The question is going to be who is going to perform better on the matchroom stage in international competition against the top players. And also, what kind of incentives do you want for players? Tyler has done everything right. And what I love the most about the guy is that there's a lot of people that thought that he was just, not a shortstop, but that, he, like a couple of years ago, it wasn't long ago that people were like, what's he doing on the team? And he's not as good as the top US players, or he's not as good as the top Euro players, and he can't get there, and he's too old, and it's too tough and all this. Tyler has just tuned everybody out, stuck to his game plan, practiced, competed, drilled, fought again and again and again. And he's getting it done more and more and more. And it's just, I just love it, man. I love it.
Mike?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. We're from Wisconsin, Nate, and Tyler's part of Wisconsin. He's one of the best ever that the state's ever seen. And we've seen him in Mosconi Cups before, and he's done well. Tyler has got a built-in form of class about him. It's just the way he walks, the way he carries himself, and you can tell that he's really getting accustomed to and used to the extreme pressures that these players get into when they're one-on-one against the greatest players in the world. He's handling that. He's taking it in stride. He's married to a top pool player. His life is pool, and he's going to make it his life, kind of like you, Nate, now too. Your life is broadcasting and being part of the pool world. And so Tyler, yes, deserves this for sure. And everybody in Wisconsin is crazy happy to see this.
Mike?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I was a little bit surprised. I don't know why. I just didn't think that he had done a lot during the year to earn, to be an obvious pick. Let me put it that way. I didn't think that he was a no doubter, because I didn't think he performed that great during the year. I think the U.S. Open definitely made Jeremy say, okay, under pressure on the big table, playing these big guys, he can, he's showing that he's got the nerve and the moxie to handle it. I think that the U.S. Open was a huge thing for Tyler, because before that, like I said, I didn't think, I saw him lose to a lot of people this year that you would be a lot of surprised that he lost to. He didn't have a lot of high finishes, but you know what you get with him. You're getting a guy who's dedicated, he's going to practice his brains out, he's going to be in there working hard, and he doesn't get flustered. So there's a lot of that going for him, and I think that the icing on the cake then was going in and having those two great matches against Federer and Filler. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, maybe I'm like being influenced by my hindsight, but after him making the final 32 and beating Fedor, I didn't think there was a way that you couldn't pick him. Jeremy obviously can pick whoever he wants, and there's been talks in the past about chemistry issues with the team, and I get all of that. But I guess if you want to pick your wild cards just based off of wild cards and having like building your best 5 team, then you could justify not having Tyler on. If you want to talk about like having a proven track record in the past with who's getting hot at the right time, it seems like Tyler would be an obvious pick to me. Maybe I have hindsight to help me with that. I don't know. Let's look towards our 5th player then. So I guess looking around, we have the people's champion, Greg Hogue, out there. These for my money, for I guess what I've seen around, these are the U.S. players that are in contention. You have Billy Thorpe, Shane Wolford. I've heard a few rumblings of like Josh Roberts and Tony Chohan, of course. You have, I think Justin Martin should be taken into account. Craig Hogue, of course. Earl Strickland. Is that? Am I getting all of the ones that you guys can think of? There's anybody else I missed?
No, that sounds about right.
I was going to say, I actually thought that the fifth spot, I was thinking Omar El Shaheen, but after what I saw at the U.S. Open, you know.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what do you think?
You know, I don't know. This one's just, this is, the fifth pick is going to be a 100% gut call by Jeremy. It wouldn't surprise me. I think that the favorites would be Billy and Shane Wolford. To me, would be the two that he's probably thinking about most. What the hell do I know? He's going to let me know right now what I know or what I don't know. But I think that they would be probably the two top picks. Billy because of his experience, and then you're basically, you know, putting together a team that you're pretty comfortable with, that you've had before. No surprises, no rookies. So, you know, if he wants to go with the comfort level, that would certainly be one way to go. If he wants to take a flyer on a young kid and he still would only have one rookie on the team, that could be Shane Wolford. You know, Earl, I don't see it. But who knows?
Altuve.
Yeah. So, yeah, if he can find Jose Altuve, we would be very happy in Team USA to have a Jose Altuve type player on there.
Is Jose Altuve tall enough to see over the pool table? Isn't he only like 3 foot tall?
He's not tall. He's not tall enough to play baseball either, and it hasn't stopped him.
Yeah, the guy's
hasn't stopped him at all.
Oh, the guy's a monster. Okay, Rob, any thoughts on those?
Well, the factor for the Mosconi Cup, as we know, is the presence of the audience and the fan base. And it's a huge thing. And it's going to be here in this country. So what do we want? We want wild and crazy fans. And who best to get the fans going than Earl? If you go into this as the coach of the team saying, listen, we're going to lose anyways, right? We're going to lose anyhow. Then why not import the showman of all the showmen ever and just go with it. He was supposed to be there last year, and through a freak of nature, it never happened. So why wouldn't he pick him again? Now, do I personally think that's the best pick for the team? I don't. But if you're going to this, like, we're beat from the start anyhow, let's have some fun with it. And Earl's not a bad player. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have any credentials.
Yeah. Well, if we got a coach that says we're going to lose anyways, I don't want him as my coach.
Well,
I got an issue with that one.
That,
and I don't think Jeremy Jones.
You look at the reality of the situation, and you stare reality in the face and grab it. Hey, we're probably going to lose anyhow.
No, you can't. No, you can't just. To be honest with you, to be honest with you, I'm like almost a little disappointed in Jeremy. I wanted to see Jeremy get out there and actually play this year because, like, when you throw that guy in last year, and I know he's I'm not kissing your ass here, but like him being out there last year on, like, what was it, 2-3 days notice? I thought he actually performed pretty well. Now I know that he's got the commentary gig with Matchroom and, like, he's got other things that are going on, but I mean, from what we saw, if we had Jeremy Jones playing a full season and in stroke properly, the way, Jeremy Jones can be, I think it'd be a pretty good choice to pick himself, honestly, out of the players that we have available. We're talking about, like, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but we're talking about like a Shane Wolford as like a real pick. Like Shane's playing some really solid pool right now, but I think we would all agree that Jeremy Jones, if he's in his proper gear, is probably a better player than Shane at this point in his career. Billy hasn't been playing. I think Jeremy's probably a better option than Billy Thorpe if he's not going to be playing any. It would have been kind of cool to see Jeremy Jones Jeremy Jones actually make like a full season of effort towards getting to that point. It would have been fun.
If he had made that effort, I'd be behind it 100%.
As far as Earl, like I had a comment I was going to make, and now it doesn't roll. I was going to say, if I was going to be, coach's pick, if I was the coach, my personal guideline would be I try not to pick anybody that's forfeit out of a tournament within the last 60 days. But unfortunately, that would eliminate 40% of our team. So I can't even say that anymore. But here's the thing. I just can't. I couldn't get behind Earl. Just no, I couldn't. And so for me, the two picks are, I do think that you've got, I guess you could say there's Billy Thorpe, you got, Wolford, and then you got Greg Howard. And I guess for me, I just haven't seen Billy Thorpe been as active and deserving. I think if I had to pick, what would be the most exciting to see, I'd like to see Greg play. I feel that he's been out there pursuing it. He's playing great. It would be a lot of fun to watch his involvement on the team and the energy he brought, the performance he brings. And then if I had to pick who I thought would be really, really good for the team, I think that Shane Wolford also deserves the spot. And I think that Shane's playing phenomenal pool right now. And that I think that he would be, if I had a coach's pick, I'd pick Wolford. However, I might wake up and change my mind and pick Greg. So,
Rob? Yeah, for pure enthusiasm for the game and spark on the team, there's no question Greg would fit right into that. He's pulse pounding pool. I call it. He gets it. He gets on top of it, and I don't know anybody, one player in the country that would want it more, or try hard.
That you cannot argue.
Yeah,
that you cannot argue because he's put more. I mean, there's been a lot of players who just go about it quietly. I mean, Nick DeLeon has been to more events than any other U.S. player. Matchroom ranking events, maybe short of Shane. Nick DeLeon's been to more than anybody else. He went to the European ones.
Look, man, but Greg's got his cap lock button on for like an hour, man. You can't beat that enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's really tough to beat it.
I haven't seen a lowercase I out of this guy.
Yeah,
well, right. I mean, I'll say this.
I mean, comment about Earl raising the ceiling and lowering the floor. I thought that was a pretty cool comment.
I will say this. Last year, I honestly feel like the people's champion was Oscar. I felt like the pulse of the Facebook squad was really pushing for Oscar last year. He didn't get in, and I think this year I see even more movement in the Greg Hogue camp. I mean, people who don't even pay that close attention to pool are like, yeah, this Greg Hogue guy should make it. Yeah, hell yeah. Like you see the Matchroom forums and they're blowing up with people like wanting people to pick Greg. It's pretty cool, honestly.
He put a video on yesterday that I watched of a 9-ball rack that he ran out and explained how he was going to do it and why and English. That was pretty impressive. I kind of liked it.
Well, so I guess if you look at I made a post last night with 21 questions with Justin Martin. I honestly think that Justin Martin is going to be on our team. I think he's got to be young. Maybe he's like 22, 23, something like that. I'm not totally sure. He's quiet. He's doing marketing a lot better now. I would assume that I don't want to speak out of turn, but I would guess that he's getting some help with that, maybe from his girlfriend or somebody, because he's been really active social media wise the last few weeks. I think Justin Martin is there. I mean, I think that he's kind of like a Tyler Styer a couple of years ago, where he's just quiet. He goes about his business. He just shows up, puts the work in, plays his matches, and leaves. I mean, he just beat Chang Jung Lin and Haya Chia-Chen, or Si Chung Chang, Chia-Chen, I think. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name, but really, really, really great players. I mean, that's two really good scalps. And then he goes 15-14 in a shootout and loses. I mean, the guy he's playing good pool. He's a 750, 753, 754 Fargo, something like that. So he's already on that stage of, kind of where we're picking at. I think that would be a good option as well. I think that he doesn't get the shine that he probably deserves, maybe because he's a little quiet, maybe he's a little shy off the table. But
well, what about
I think
What about Donnie Mills? You know, he just got to the finals. The tournament's going. He's been playing really well. I know he hasn't played all day. I'm just talking about as a coach's pick. You know, I hadn't really heard his name. And does he even get a mention?
He's been around a while.
He's not intimidated by the top players. He possesses a great break in that format. He does well under pressure. He's very, very solid, and he plays phenomenal pool, and he's kind of playing the best pool of his life. So you've got some arguments to make there.
Sure.
So thank you, Aaron. Jia Zen. Hopefully that's, I think the X in Chinese is a she sound. So hopefully that was better. I'll have to practice that. Aaron, send me a PM. Help me pronounce his name. I do want to pronounce his name better. He's been playing a lot of pool. He's had a lot of good wins the last few weeks. So, I guess. All right, let's go around. Let's pick our player. Rob, who's your 5th U.S. player?
Oh man, this is brutal. I'm gonna stick my neck out on this one, and you know, I think I like Martin. I do.
Justin Martin. All right, Mike.
You got, if you're gonna put a rookie in there, why not? You know, give him a shot.
I'm with Eric Croft on this. Eric said, you know, at some point Team USA needs to start getting the rookies experience. You're talking about Justin Martin, you're talking about Shane Wolford, guys like this, that they're going to be on the team in a year, they're going to be on the team in 2 years. Well, you can't put 3 of them on team same year. You have to start working these guys in. If you've got 4 guys with experience like you do this year, I'd go ahead and take the guy that you're going to be counting on in 2 or 3 years from now. And so I'd go with Shane Wolford this year.
Demetrius?
Yeah, so if I had to guess who Jeremy picks, I'm afraid that he might pick Billy, just based on ability. If I was my pick, I would probably pick Shane Wolford for all the same reasons. I think he is playing phenomenal pool right now, and I'm just not sure that Greg really wants it enough.
Really? No.
Oh, come on, Greg. Dang. Come on, man. You know I love you, man. You know I love you.
Okay. Demetrius, is that flames in the back? I think he's
what's that?
No, I think to be honest, I think if you go off of who's the best player, I think Billy gets it. If you go off of who the best players, I think Billy gets it. Maybe even Earl gets it. But please just don't give me Earl. I mean, okay, if you want it to be an entertaining thing, pick Earl. Fine, whatever. It's going to be a show. We're all going to love it. Nobody watches NASCAR for the left turns. They watch it for the crashes. I get it. Fine, pick Earl. If I'm building for the future. If I'm building for the future, I like Justin Martin because I think Justin Martin, while I don't think that Shane is going to be around for the next 3 years and we'll never hear about him again, like a Devin Petit or something like that, it just seems like Justin Martin is there for the long haul, in my opinion. It just seems like he doesn't need the shine. He doesn't need all of the accolades. He doesn't need the media. He just shows up at every tournament, whether it's a Predator tournament, whether it's a Matchroom tournament. I think that the safer bet for 15 years is Justin Martin, and I like that pick. I also, to be honest with you, like I said, it's a TV show, and Greg Hogue, honestly, if you're trying to make an entertaining product, I think he doesn't play as good as Earl.
It would be the most enjoyable to watch for sure. I'd love to see
absolutely. Yeah. It would be the best TV show. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Mike?
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking is that, you know, we're looking at, and this is the way we do Barstool Sports, right? As we talk about what we would do or what we think or whatever. I guarantee the last thing Jeremy is thinking about is entertainment value, and the last thing he's thinking about is, you know, building for the future. If he's not going to do that unless he thinks it can also help win today. He's in here about one thing. He's got to win this year. He wants to win this year. He wants to hold on to that job. He wants to, you know, wants USA to. So his pick is going to be who he thinks is going to help that team win this year. And from that aspect, I think that's why I think he's still sticking with either Shane Wolford or Billy, just thinking that they can both play about the same. Who's going to give him the best chance this year?
Well, it's kind of hard to say that anybody's playing of the competitors that anybody's playing better than Greg. I mean, he did just make a final 32, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
sure.
good. Yeah.
The only other there was 3 Americans that made the final 32. It was Greg, Tyler,
Oscar.
and Oscar. Yeah. And those 2 are in.
Yeah.
He's obviously playing good. So, yeah, I mean, none of us have said Chris Reinhold's name. I
mentioned it last podcast, but
yeah,
since then,
he played pretty well at the U.S. Open.
He did.
He really did. But I don't think that he's been in it enough this year to warrant getting on again. The bottom line is, I think you're going to be able to make a pretty good argument for whoever Jeremy picks.
Sure.
Yeah, and Greg is making a lot of comments about who's performed on Matchroom stage and year-to-date results. And Greg, listen, if you got picked, I'd love it. I'm a big fan of yours, man. But you got to understand, the top 3 spots you qualify. The 4th and 5th spot are coaches' picks. So if you were top 3, you'd have qualified. And if you're not top 3, then it's not about top. It's not about. Then that's where judgment comes in. So you got to understand that's where the Matchroom comes in, man. I'm sorry. If you want fair, then it's like you got to go top 3. Otherwise, it kind of comes down to there's other factors that people consider besides a U.S. Open finish. And yeah, it's it. I get where you're coming from, man. You've been out there pounding it. You want it, and you're like, put me in, coach. I can play. Okay. Anyway, all right, we're good.
Okay, so Demetrius, my pick is I like the future. I like planning for the future 10 years down the line, and I like getting a rookie in there. If all things are considered equal, which to be honest, I think they kind of are this year, because Billy hasn't been playing. Earl hasn't played hardly anything. I mean, it's hard for me to even justify it. And to be honest, I mean, we could have a whole conversation about how COVID has derailed Earl twice now. Once last year in Europe or London.
And how many times has Earl derailed Earl? That's the other question.
Well, that's true. But and now we got COVID this year, and he couldn't play the Sandcastle, which he was signed up for, and the U.S. Open, which he was signed up for. So, but again, I just don't get it. I just don't get the Earl pick. I'm fine with Justin Martin. I'm fine with Shane Wolford. I'm fine with Greg Hogue. All 3 of those players, I believe, are playing good pool.
The Earl pick surprised the heck out of me last year. Woo.
Yeah, well, it absolutely did. I like any of those 3 picks. I don't really care which one gets picked. I would like to see Earl, or I would like to see Greg, honestly, because like the entertainment factor. I think the way that I think it would be good for Mosconi Cup for marketing. I think that would be interesting. But if I had the pick, I'd probably personally pick Justin Martin. I think he's ready for the stage, and I think he's going to be around for 10, 15 years. So, but any of those 3 picks, I'm okay with. Okay, so let's move on to, unless there's anything else. Anybody else have anything about this?
No, I just say one thing. There was a comment in there about, so Demetrius, you mean politics? People bring up politics all the time in these selections, and I still haven't figured out what the hell they mean. I'm not exactly sure what they mean. I mean, if it's a wild card, if it's a captain's pick, you've got a lot of reasons you're going to make your choice. What is politics?
Well, maybe, but anyways, politics might be something like, if Emily said, hey, we think that based on, our goal of getting ratings, we think it would be better for ratings and better for production if we had so-and-so player in. So I know it's a coach's pick, but would you mind bringing that person in? And, and then maybe even selecting captains that would be cooperative with their initiatives so that they can help get the teams they want. Like I'm not saying that happens. I'm just saying that's probably like that type of
could be, or it could be someone who spends the whole year cozying up to Jeremy Jones, trying to get, friends picks, things like that. But, I just think that's so overblown in these conversations. It drives me crazy. So anyways, we can go on to something else, Nate. Sorry.
See Tara's comment here, Nate, Tara, the mental trainer, Tara
inside
Danilo.
Performance coaching.
Yeah. Team cohesion.
So I guess let's move on to I don't know. Let's talk about the WPBA event, the Sledgehammer Open. Kelly Fisher comes from the B side and completes the win. Again, this was at whose room was this at, Mike?
Janet Atwell.
Yeah, Janet Atwell's pool room.
Borderline.
Yep, Borderline Billiards. I mean, again, it seems like the WPBA is starting to get their stuff together. I mean, they're having streams now for all their events, which is good. Their marketing is getting significantly better. They kind of came out of a slumber that they've been in since 2008 or whatever, but they seem to be really starting to step up their game. It's. I mean, Mike, you've been around for this entire thing and kind of watched it firsthand. What do you think their events are looking like now?
They're definitely getting stronger. I think that they've worked hard this year to build events, to get to events. I think the Predator events have helped them with their own events in terms of how to do it properly, how to build it up, how to make it better. Certainly, they're getting the buy-in from the players because of all the extra events this year. So it's a lot of it's capital and resources, right? If you've got a little bit more, you've got more tournaments, and you've got more people putting into the events, you can make the events a little better. You can do the things you need to do to try to make it better, like the stream and things like that. So yeah, a little bit at a time. They're definitely it's a better looking product. It's a stronger product. So yeah, I'm happy for them.
Demetrius, any thoughts on the event?
Yeah, I think little Chris's comment, he beat me to it. Savannah knocking out Emily Duddy and Monica Webb. I think that this is great for women's pool. I think that the bar is going to get raised. I mean, you've got some hungry young players coming in that are playing some great pool, and I think that I'm excited to see the level of play in the WPBA over the next 5-10 years and see what happens. I think it's going to be very good because right now Kelly Fisher seems like she's got a dominant edge. But I don't know that will continue all that much longer. I think that we're going to see the bar get raised.
I will say this. Savannah Easton is the next big thing in American pool. She really is. I mean,
well, it's not just her. I mean, if you look at that event, Sophia Mast played in it. Priscilla Kinsley played in it. Skylar Hess played in it. I mean, those are what are they, 12, 13, 15, and 14. Whoa. All four of them played into it. All four of them went through stage one, finished in the top 16 so that they could get into the main stage. And, Sophia won one match. And then you look at Savannah. If you're looking
have these. I actually have these up. Do you want me to go through Savannah's matches? Because I think it's impressive.
It's unbelievable. I mean, if you look through the whole old school WPBA lineup, she went through Laura Smith, Emily Duddy, Monica Webb, and Dawn Hopkins before she lost to Jennifer. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Not only that. So her first match on the B side, she beat Beth Fondell, who's a player from Minnesota, right? Demetrius,
yes.
A good player. She's a good player. But the reason I wanted to bring this up because she won 8-7, and then she won 8-6, and then she won 8-3, and then she won 8-7, and then she won 8-6, and then she won 8-3. I mean, she has like a sporadic her 8-7 was against Beth, and then she beat Sophia Mass 8-6, right. Beat Laura Smith 8-3, beat Emily Duddy 8-7, beat Monica Webb 8-6, beat Dawn Hopkins 8-3. I mean, she's getting to the hill a lot, and maybe she's 12 years old, she's fearless, but it's really hard to win this many matches against this many great players and go hill 6. That's impressive. That's really, really impressive stuff.
Yeah. No, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Like I said, she wasn't even alone there. Sophia Mast is a great little player.
She is.
She beat Savannah in the first stage, it's just fun to watch these young kids come in there and play like that. It's just great.
Rob, any thoughts?
Yeah, ladies pool. I think it's on the way up for sure. From what I'm seeing with all the youngsters in there, they got talent. And maybe do you think this has a little something to do with some parents in this day and age now getting on board, supporting their kids more than, 30 years ago it was? I was discouraged by my parents to play pool, period.
I think it's two things, Rob. I think that one thing is, the information age has changed full, and over the last 5-10 years, it's really made the learning curve different. But I also think that, shout out to Raheta. I mean, the JIC, the Junior International Championships, it's been going on, 2-3 years now. Like, they have a lot of regular tour stops, and these young kids, boys and girls, are getting a lot of opportunities to compete under pressure and compete against the best of the junior players of the country. And I think that there is a difference between the young girls and the young junior boys, which is when the young junior boys are competing against other junior boys, they're not necessarily playing against the best men players of the country. But in the junior girls division, as it's been proven, these junior girls are playing as good as any of the top U.S. women players almost. And so I think that when you look at some of the juniors are doing well. Like you saw Joey Tate almost win against Shane in that set. You've got Sam Henderson was playing very well. I got a chance to kind of look over my shoulder and watch him play. We've got some good junior, and we've got the junior Shane Van Boning junior championships happening out there. It was a very good play from the U.S. juniors. But I think in terms of opportunity, I think that the opportunity for a young U.S. boy, if a young U.S. boy wants to, make a name for himself, he has to get through Shane and Chris Melling and some Chinese robot. Whereas Savannah Easton has to get through Monica Webb and Emily Duddy. And so I think there's a little bit more opportunity in terms of I'm not saying it's an easier road, but it's an easier road. And so I think that the young girls are coming along and saying, hey, we can do this. And I think that that's what's going to happen. They're just going to, and when somebody was talking about what does it take for US to compete with Europe, I still maintain it just comes back to, it takes a few people that say, here's what's going to happen. I mean, we can talk culture and size and tournament payouts and all these training centers, but in the end, it takes a couple people to come out and say, you know what, I'm going to get there. And that's what these young girls are doing, and they're getting there.
Nice.
I think that Savannah Easton might be the next. I can see her being like the next Jeanette Lee, and I mean the total package of that, meaning like the ability to branch outside of the industry. She's 12 years old. We're not trying to put any undue burden or pressure on her, but
old, really.
But the idea, she's so personable. She's so happy. She's her market. I mean, and of course, a lot of this is her parents. Who she has an amazing support cast around her for her parents. Her parents are just absolutely fantastic people. But she's got the total package of personality, obviously skills. She's got the ability to be, in conversation with anybody. She's always around. I mean, it just seems like she's going to have everything at her disposal to be the next huge player in the pool world. I could see that very easily.
The Jeanette Lee analogy is interesting because the thing that reminds me of the closest thing between her and Jeanette to me is her competitiveness. I mean, Savannah Easton is as competitive. I mean, you could be playing tiddlywinks with her, and she is all in. So, it's that determination and things like that. And I think, what you said, Demetrius, too, is right on. It's things like JIC. It's all about opportunity. And they're getting these opportunities in very well organized, very structured, very, good environments where now, and then you do get, these young girls go out there and they are coming with their parents and their families, and there's this great support system. And so you've got, because there is this opportunity of great places and great venues to play in and great organizations like the JAC, now you're making it, a lot more interesting, a lot better for the kids, a lot more exciting for the kids, a lot more, something that the parents can buy into, which is a huge thing. So, I think that that's all coming into play to make this, as successful as it is.
It's a good thing for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the future of U.S. pool seems to be in pretty good hands, both with the women and the men. What I'm happy to see is Savannah's 12 years old. You can put her out there against any. How old is Hank the Tank, Demetrius?
14.
And he plays about 630 Fargo-ish, something like that.
It's really hard to say. When it comes to Fargo rate, I know that when I play them 9-ball sets, the last 9-ball set I played them, I went hill, and I had to break it. I broke and ran out. I won 7-6. I'll tell you, there's not many players in Minnesota that when I play them races to 7-9 ball on a big table. I'm not saying nobody can take a set off me, but it's like there's only a handful of players where I feel threatened, where I feel like if I don't play very, very, very well, like I don't have to win against Hank. And so I don't know what his Fargo rate is on a bar table right now, but like he's playing some very, very strong pool. That's it.
Yeah, and Josh beat me to the punch. Savannah is a 549, and that's before this week. I mean, you throw that WPBA event in there, she's probably up to like 570, 580. I mean, by the time that she's 14, she's going to be playing. By the time that she's 16, she'll probably, assuming the same track record, she'll be playing close to 700 speed. That puts her with the elite of all of the European Chinese women's on that trajectory. I mean, she's not going to be a really good USA player. She's going to be a really good world pool player.
And she's not going to be a really good female player. She's going to be a really good pool player. And that's what I like. And that's, I've watched her play. I've watched, like, I think I said it on a podcast before. I turned on one of her matches. I watched her hit 2 shots. And if I didn't say this, I think I said this to my students because I had something where I was talking to my students. I watched her hit 1 shot. When I just flipped into a random spot of the match, I watched her hit 1 shot. And after watching the shot she shot and the way she shot it, I knew that she was going to be the top U.S. woman player within years, just a couple of years. And because she's not playing good for a girl, she's not playing good for a kid. She's playing good pool, and she's trying to play the best pool she can play. She's not setting her sights low. She's not doing the minimum. She's going for the gold, man. She's going for the gold. Now, as far as whether or not she'll be 700 by age 14, Patrick, send me a message if you want a 24-month sweat bet. Send me a message. But I do believe in her. I do believe in her.
Yeah, it's the thing is, we talk about opportunity. You just hope these opportunities stay there, and these organizations like the JAC and BEF get bigger and get more involvement with the youth, because my biggest worry is always that by the time they're 18, they're into something else. So you want to keep the opportunities out there to keep them engaged and to keep them, keep building aspirational levels for them, and that'll keep them in the game.
And I just want to interject, Pat. I actually have made multiple year sweat bets before. It's no hard feelings. If I pay one off, I would love to pay this bet off. Like, honestly, if Savannah cracks 700 Fargo by 14, I would gladly pay you off. I would be the biggest. That would be the happiest I've ever been. So seriously, man, I'm in. I think it would be good for the show. So you tell me, I'll confirm right here live. We'll settle up on her 15th birthday. We can check Fargo rate, and you just tell me what you want to bet, and I'll lock it in with you. We can post with a third party, whatever you want to do. This is not a challenge. This is not an Eagle thing. This is just for the show, man. For the show, we'll do it for the show.
For the show, I'll do it.
Yeah, we're all having fun with it.
Yeah,
the true
will hold money.
Exactly. The true bet is whether or not who's gonna be first to 700, Savannah or me. That should be the true bet. I'll have to get with Larry. I'll see if we can set something up for that.
So I'm already 64.
You got to give us odds.
Years left to wait.
We got to have some odds.
Okay, so Patrick,
you spot me 125 points.
All right, do me a favor, Patrick. I just want to make sure you have contact info. But yeah, we're in. We'll you got yourself $100 sweat bet, and I'm rooting for you to win, and I'm rooting for Savannah here.
Demetrius, just so you know, everybody in the world is rooting against you.
Good. I'm rooting against me too.
We hate you so much now.
Yeah, I just think that I think that there's the thing is that people throw around 700 a lot. I know that the learning curve of pool has gotten a lot shorter with information and opportunity. I also understand that that people have an initial trajectory when they're coming out of the gate that's very, very fast and strong. I think that people underestimate though the way that the trajectory is not just straight to the moon, that it gets very, 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 very difficult. And I think that people underestimate exactly. I've heard, like, I teach students, right? I have 40 people a year fly to me and work with me. And, I've talked to 100 boot camp students that have come out and trained with me. And, a lot of people throw around, I'd like to get to 700. I'd like to get to 700. And it's just, it's shown me that there's in the pool industry, I think there's we get spoiled by watching all the international top elite pros and all these guys that are 800. It seems like you go to the US Open and everybody's 700, 750, 780, 7. It's like, but I think that it creates a misconception of how they just, it makes it seem like it's no big thing to do. And it's like, no, it's most people that seriously devote their entire lives to pool don't get to 700, and so it's not easy to do. That's it.
Ooh, you went on a rant. Can I go on a rant?
Yeah, go ahead.
Off of what Josh just said. So I hear this. I hear this like, well, they have 2,000 games in the system, or they have 5,000 games in the system, or they have even 1,000 games in the system. Your Fargo's not going to move once you get to 2,000. That is like the biggest misconception about Fargo rate, is that if you have a lot of games in the system, that like you're just not going to move. No, you're not going to move if you don't get better or worse at pool, right? So all these players come to me, they'll be like, well, you know, I won this tournament last weekend and my Fargo only went up a half a point or a point. And like, it's because I have 3,000 games in the system. No, you aren't going up because you haven't gotten better at this game in 20 years. Just using, well, let's use Sam Henderson, for example. 6 months ago, Sam and I think both have like 4,000 games in the system or something like that. I have 4,426 games in the system. Sam Henderson has, okay, so he has 1,400. Well, we won't use him. We'll use myself and Savannah, right? So Savannah was under a 500 4 months ago, and she has 2,000 games in the system. She's gone up 50 points. The point is like, if you're getting better, you're going to move up. If you're the same level that you've always been, and you know that, you know, the same people like complain about my number never goes up. Well, you ask them, do you think that you've gotten better in the last year? Well, no, not really. Well, then you're not going to go up. Like I was practicing a ton because my wife was playing. I got 4,400 games in the system. And when I was at 4,300, I was at like a 663. So in the last 100 games, I've gone up like 13 points because I've actually been practicing and playing a bunch. Like it doesn't matter how many games in the system you have. It matters whether or not you're improving or not. And most players aren't improving at any given stage of their career. That's my rant. Okay, I'm done. Anyone?
I'd like to give a little shout out to one of my favorite players, the Lion from Canada, for his showing in the one pocket that he played against Tony. I mean, I didn't watch much of it. I did watch the last rack where he ran 8, and it was impressive for sure. And he used all of his body on numerous shots on that rack where he ran out from the break. He ran 8. And they're letting you get on top of the table now, which is
only at Buffalo's.
And I was going to say, I'll tell you, Rob, if you want to talk about the most impressive thing in that matchup, was when there was that picture of Tony Chohan climbing on that table. The fact that thing stood up, it just shows the quality of the workmanship in these fine diamond tables. Sheesh.
That was something to see that bear of a human being get on top of the table. It is where Alex can just pop right up there and spread out over the table, and that cut on that one ball in the corner down the short rail was just
what if Tony climbed up on his side of the table and all the balls rolled over in front of his pocket?
But anyhow, he just showed why he's one of the best in that against Tony. I just love the guy.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this briefly. Alex Pagulayan wins over Tony Chohan, 36-29. I know that this is kind of like the third time they've played this third time in the last year or two that they've played. I mean, I don't know how many times we need to necessarily see this matchup. I mean, I love Tony Chohan might not be the best one pocket player in the world, but is there anybody you'd rather watch play one pocket?
No, that's got to be the best. Yeah.
I know, Mike, you don't really like one pocket, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. I mean, I like watching it. I just like pool in general. But
yeah,
I love playing it. I don't like watching it as much as playing it. That's for sure.
Is there anybody that you'd rather watch play one pocket more than Tony? He's easily the most entertaining, but for my money, the most entertaining player out there.
I mean, Efren.
There you go.
But if you got to go to Efren, then you know that's a heck of a player. That's kind of like bringing up. That's kind of like when somebody talks about Hitler in an argument. You know that you kind of won. Like if you have to go to Efren, then you know that you got there.
Yeah, a good fallback guy.
Alex is pretty entertaining.
Yeah, Alex is obviously entertaining too. But I'm talking about like
Alex is entertaining.
the quality, the type of games that you end up seeing with Tony. I mean, the
Pace of
shots that
play
he
and
takes
that type of
on.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he plays fast. He plays entertaining. He's
Yeah.
theatrical to a point. I mean, everything about his game is it's fantastic to watch. But it's Alex, right? I mean, the only player in the world I think that, I mean, for a while now that had an argument was Dennis, and we haven't seen Dennis, and maybe we won't see Dennis for a couple of years. But I mean, it's like Alex just sits in the background, and the way I look at this is like Alex just sits in the background, and all of these like U.S. players, or even just one pocket players in general, all kind of punch each other in the face over and over and over again, and then one player kind of gets to the cream of the crop of everyone that's around him, and they're like, "All right, yeah, here we go. I'm ready for Alex. Let's go." And Alex is like, "Okay, let's play," and then back to the pile of players. Where they scruff it out for about another 6 or 7 months, and then one person rises to the top, and Alex beats him back down to the middle. It's like that's kind of what Alex has been doing for like the last 6 or 7 years. You play for 8 months of one pocket where one person gets enough confidence that thinks that they can challenge, and then it's just like, no.
Which makes you wonder how good actually Alex can play, because it's like nobody's ever pushed him to where he breaks. Tony, I'll tell you, and he was giving Tony 9-8, and it's like that's pretty tough. And the one thing I'll say is, Tony did make a bit of a rally. He was way down on the score. I don't remember the exact scores, but I want to say in a race to 36, he might have been down something like 22 to 15, or he might have. I mean, he was pretty down, and then he rallied and he won like 6 out of 7, 7 out of 8. He put Alex where Alex was struggling. He came back all the way, tied it back up after Alex worked for 3 days to get a lead, and then Alex just regrouped and just put him away. And it's like, so anyway, it was a dramatic match. There was great play on both sides, but it just goes to show that Alex he is. He is. You never say he's the best, but like as far as nobody could be the best at this, but he is one of the most fierce money players of all time. And so, there's been times when if he plays 9-ball against Fedor right now or 10-ball against Shane, like there's going to be games where he's just outgunned in that game. But in one pocket where you take away the break and you take away the high gear and you just make it about just pool skills. Gosh, man, the guy has got the heart of a lion. I guess maybe it's almost like we should give him a nickname.
He is impressive.
And he has obviously fun. You'd love to have seen him against.
He's having fun doing it.
You'd love to have seen him against Efren in his heyday. Had both of them at their peaks playing each other would have been.
Dennis in there too.
Yeah, I still think Alex and Efren are the two best.
I don't think we ever saw Dennis. Dennis is. I mean, kind of to what Demetrius said. Though, I don't think we ever saw Dennis's best game. Yeah.
I'm just going on what we've seen, but would have been fun.
I think that I'd give Alex the edge over Dennis just based on the number of money matches. There is a shorter learning curve these days with one pocket, and there is something to be said about the person who's striking the best, which obviously Dennis is striking the balls as well as anybody. But the striking gap is, and I just think Alex has played, I would guess that Alex has played 5 to 10 times more money matches than in one pocket than Dennis has. And I'm not diminishing what Dennis has done. I'm just saying Alex has played so much that I just feel that it gives him a big edge.
Yeah. I mean, Alex probably just beat somebody back down to the middle, kind of the scrum. I'm sure they'll fight it out for the next 6-7 months. Chip, Tony, maybe Josh, if he ever gets back to playing regularly. Roberto, if you throw maybe even like a Scott Frost, he wants to get back into it. He kind of went through a little phase where he might have. And then he could throw in some European players like Fedor.
That's what I want to see. I want to see that because here's the thing is that with Alex versus Tony doesn't have a striking edge. Josh Roberts doesn't have a striking edge. I want to see Alex. I think that the only thing that would be interesting at this point would be to see him play Filler, him play Fedor, him play guys that are on top of their form to the point where they actually have some type of maybe strike, if it's possible to have a striking edge against Alex. Like, I just don't see to come at Alex with some guy who doesn't shoot as straight as Alex and is just going to try to outplay him in one pocket. That to me just doesn't seem like if I had to pick a horse, like I wouldn't pick Evan Lunda and be like, all right, we're going to outmove Alex. Like, man, that seems like a hard road, But if you wanted to put Filler in there and say, hey, Filler's just going to run 8 and out all day from everywhere, and he's just going to outshoot Alex, at least you got a game plan,
Yeah. I like that starting shot. Patrick Neal says that Bank Karam with safety and shape for that his last rack that Alex shot was. I'm looking at that rack. I don't have a clue what he's doing, what he's going to do when he shoots that Bank Karam. Wow, that was impressive for the first ball of the 8-ball run.
Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss. Anybody else have anything they want to discuss? I mean, Jayson Shaw's not here anymore, so we don't have to talk about his beatdown. We're not obligated to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, good show.
Yeah. There's a comment about putting having Efren coach Filler against Alex. The thing is, I can just see how this would go. Is Efren would need a translator to tell Filler not to shoot a shot, and then he'd say, "No, this is no good. This shot," and then Filler would shoot it and split the wicket and run 8, and then they'd get into a fight. And anyway, I'm good, guys. I'm ready to go. That's good.
Yeah, I am as well. So thanks everybody for tuning in.
See y'all.
I am on my way to the International Open tonight. So I am after Pool League tonight at about 9 p.m. I'm going to jump in my car and start braving the 15-hour car ride. So that's going to be awesome. Anybody I guess anybody that's going to be at the International Open, I'm going to set up like a little booth. We're going to do some interviews with the players out of it. Maybe sell a little bit of merch. We'll see. But make sure to swing by at the International Open if you're around. Bring beer. I love beer. You don't even have to you just bring by and just set it on my stand and leave if you want. You can stay and hang out and talk and whatever, that'd be fun. But just beer. It's good. That's really all I got.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It was fun.
Yeah,
Thanks
it
a
was a
lot.
good time.
All right. Yep. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for participating in the
next
chat,
time.
and we'll see you next
See you,
week.
Mike. See you, Dan.
All right. Thanks.